So this is what we're making, a pair of flower-like earrings out of fine silver with sterling ear wires. We're starting with the disc, 17 millimeters diameter, 2 discs, 0.7 of a millimeter thick fine silver. We'll start by annealing our disc. Now, because this is fine silver, it won't go red like sterling. So, if you can see red at all, stop. It'll be annealed. Quench it in water and dry it off. And you don't have to pickle fine silver because it doesn't oxidize like sterling. So I'm just going to put my bench block on my lap and use my jeweler's hammer, which is just a cross pane hammer. And then I'm going to hold this over the edge so that I can hold it and just go around all the way around hammering, and what that's going to do is going to stretch the metal. You can see where it's already starting to stretch it and get a bit of a wavy pattern. So that's what we want it to look like. Then I'm just going to take my chasing hammer and the rawhide, put the material on a piece of wood, and I'm putting the round ball end of the chasing hammer in the middle. And just hitting it so that I have a depression in the middle and it's starting to look flower-like. So now I'm going to take my carbide cutoff disc and I'm just going to, I'll get closer so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to cut in and then smooth it a little bit towards the notch. And this is just to make it look a little more flower petal-like. And I'm going to do that about every 7 or 8 millimeters. I'm not going to measure it. It can be organic. We're not trying to duplicate a flower. We're just supposed to make it flower-like. You could do this with your jeweler's saw if you wish. I want the look of the notches, and I don't mind the marks from the cut-off disc. So you can see now it's actually starting to look more flower-like. So now I'm going to cut 3 pieces of 1.2 diameter wire, just using my small solder cutters. And I use my solder cutters because that way I get an equal amount of metal, so that my little melted balls will be exactly the same size. So just melt those, and I'm going to put a little touch of flux in the middle of my flower, and then drop the balls in. I'll zoom in so you can see. So we have our little round balls there. Now I'm going to cut 3 small pieces of hard solder using the same solder cutters. And I'm going to just place those on or next to the balls. And I use 3 because they naturally put themselves into a triangular shape. So using our neutral flame, we'll just dry out our flux, warm it up slowly initially, and once the flux is dry, have a look, make sure all of the solder in the balls are right in the middle, keep heating. Now, you could see the solder flow. Stop, quench, and pickle. But you can also see that now I have my flower shape. Now we need to make our holes for our ear wires. I'm just going to use my punch. And we're ready to make ear wires. So I'm using 0.8 of a millimeter round sterling. And we just file the ends flat, both ends, and I'm using a Swiss number 2 cut flat hand file. Then 400 grade sandpaper. Don't try to file it flat, just file it slightly rounded. And then I'm just using my flat round pliers that have marks in them so that I can use it for measuring. That way I can make both ear wires the same. So I just make a loop, center it, put that down, and I have this little opening in the round bit facing up, and that way it'll be facing the back when I'm finished. Up and over a little kick. And we'll actually polish this end that goes through the ear. So then we just look at it. If it's slightly wonky, straighten it up. Then we just open that sideways like a jump ring. Assemble it. Close the loop, wiggling, pushing, making sure that it touches the back. So that's our flower-shaped earring. Now when I polish the ends of my ear wires, I just use a little buffing wheel on my handpiece. Tripoli works just fine. It doesn't need to be any more than that. We just make that nice and shiny, and that way it'll never ever scratch anybody. And just check with your fingers just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. So there we are, almost finished. Now, because this is fine silver, you wouldn't have to polish it, but I'm going to put it in the tumbler just because I want it shinier. And then we're finished. So 15 minutes in the tumbler. Nice and shiny. Finished.